Well, good morning and welcome to the 311 Synergy Group webinar. The webinar today is 311 Quality Design and Process. This is the third in a series providing a look into the building blocks of 311s in North America. In the coming months, we will build on these topics covering different aspects of 311 from the ground up. We welcome you to attend all or any that interest you, and you can visit the CS Week 311 Synergy Group website for the full schedule and to register for upcoming webinars. Our speakers today are Sylvia Graham, Quality Assurance and Training Coordinator from the City of Atlanta 311, and we have Rob Duncan, Customer Service Manager, and Mark Daniel, Customer Service Supervisor from the Austin 311, and each will be discussing their 311 quality design and processes. Just a little overview on the 311 Synergy Group. We are an industry networking group for current and prospective 311 customer contact managers throughout North America. There is a lot of information sharing, education, and it's a lot of fun. This group is open to all municipalities with an interest in 311. Our 2015 chairperson is Leslie Ham, and she is the 311 Director for Montgomery County, Maryland. The 311 Synergy Group invites you to join us for our annual 311 Synergy Group meeting in Phoenix, Arizona. Next year will be April 24th through the 26th, 2016. It is a 3-day event packed with great sessions that we can all benefit from, whether you've been to one of these meetings before or not, and we do hope you all can make it. The 311 Synergy Group also has a group on LinkedIn. Please join us for industry news and networking. During our presentation, if you have any questions, please upload your questions to the Q&A panel, and remember to select all participants so that all the panelists can see them. We will address them at the end of the presentation when we have allotted time for questions and answers. And if you would also, if your question is directed to a particular entity, please include that information so I direct the question appropriately. And with that said, it's my pleasure to introduce Sylvia Graham from the City of Atlanta 311, recipient of the 2015 Digital Government Achievement Award. Thank you, Sylvia, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Sylvia Graham. I am the Quality Assurance and Training Coordinator for the City of Atlanta 311. Today, I will be discussing quality design and processing with you. So our objectives for today is to recount the journey of the ATL 311 Quality Assurance and Training Program, explore the Quality Assurance Framework, discuss evaluation forms and scoring options, understand the ATL 311 dispute process, and outline lessons learned during our implementation. So before we get started with discussing the quality design, I want to give you a little bit of background on ATL 311. We started as a customer service priority for Mayor Kasim Reed. The project began in November of 2011 under the Bloomberg Foundation grant. The innovation and delivery team incubated the project until July 2013, and that's when ATL 311 became its own operating unit. ATL 311 currently reports directly to the Chief Operating Officer, and we are consist of a director that oversees the Program Management Office and the Customer Service Center. So chronicling 311's quality assurance journey. And so at the start of ATL 311, our organizational design consisted of 5 teams, and they were led by 5 supervisors and 1 call center manager. Each team had about 10 agents. So during that time, supervisors were the only ones completing evaluations. Supervisors used quality forms that was created in Excel, and they were required to perform 3 monthly evaluations per agent each month. With daily operational impacts and other priorities, it made it arduous to consistently perform the evaluations, and at that time, performance synergy sessions were a yearning. And so as the supervisors' span of control grew, their performance-based feedback became compromised. So ATL 311 was on a quest to become a world-class contact center. And so in order to do that, first we needed to defined world class. And what we recognized was that quality epitomized world class. So then we started to discuss the pros and cons of a quality assurance program. We performed research to ascertain a framework for the program and explored relevant costs and effective training for effective training and conferences. So the steps that we took to develop a performance management team, the first thing that we did was attend a user group conference for the Calabria Workforce Management Optimization software. We had the software installed for about 6 months prior to use, and the main reason why is because we lacked a subject matter expert. So we knew that we needed to get the proper training in order to effectively use the software. And so once we attended the user group, the first thing we did was start to configure the software so that it fits the ATL 311 environment. And so that included creating evaluation forms. Using the software, we developed performance metrics, and we began training our leadership team, followed by our entire staff on the application. So our next plan of action was to actually develop the quality assurance and training team. And so what we did first was we developed policy and procedures, and we hired one temporary resource in September of 2014. And the reason why we decided to go the temporary route was because we were still trying to understand what resources we needed to make the program successful. We also created an incentive program to motivate staff and get their engagement. Once the quality assurance and training team was put into place, we were responsible for completing a minimum of 3 evaluations per agent each month. And what this did was created consistency in the way that we provided feedback to our agents or their performance. So what we quickly found out was that because we are responsible for quality assurance and training, we use the same resources for all things quality and all things training. So we immediately recognized that we needed to bring on permanent employees. And so we brought on 2 permanent quality assurance and training specialists. We also recently added a performance management specialist that will consolidate the data from the quality assurance and workforce management teams. And so this is just a snapshot of what the organizational design looks like now. And the positions highlighted in white is our performance management team. And as you can see, we have a workforce coordinator with a workforce specialist. We have a quality assurance and training coordinator along with 2 quality assurance and training specialists and a performance specialist, and we're always evaluating whether or not we need to make changes to the quality assurance program and the performance management team as a whole. So the role of our quality assurance and training specialists are to complete 6 evaluations each month per agent, 1 being a side-by-side, and if we have new hires, that number goes up to 10. They also manage the quality assurance and training mailbox, and we created the mailbox mainly for our knowledge-based article updates and additions, as well as to streamline questions related to evaluations, as well as a method for disputing evaluations. The specialists also assist with managing the incentive program, and from the training side, they facilitate new hire training along with refresher training and develop any training material for courses being facilitated by the quality assurance and training team. So our ATL 311 leadership team also assists the quality assurance and training team with evaluations. Our supervisors complete 3 evaluations per agent each month. Our team leads complete 2, and our Tier 2 agents complete a minimum of 1 evaluation per agent each month. And we also perform additional evaluations for new hires, as I mentioned before, and low performers. So our quality assurance evaluation form. So our metrics are highly effective is 95 to 100%, effective is 88 to 94%, and needs improvement is 87% and below. And also I included a screenshot of one of our evaluation forms that's from our Calabrio system. So as you can see, we have 8 sections for this particular form, and there's a series of questions for each section, and each question and section is weighted. And so now we will move into the quality assurance framework. So when thinking about starting a quality assurance program, these are some of the questions that you will want to ask yourself or your team members. The first one is the current monitoring program meeting the needs of the organization and customers? And so you want to consider whether or not the evaluation process that you have in place, is it working for you? Is it meeting the needs of your organization? Or do you need to create a quality assurance program, which is the second question? And so if the answer to that question is yes, then you want to consider your resources. What resources will be needed to successfully implement a quality assurance program? Do you have the necessary software? And so you want to consider your budget. What do you need to budget for? And so that also goes into the last question, which is how will you implement the program? Would you use a phased-in approach, and when will you implement the program? And so if you have budgeting restraints, then it may be necessary for you to wait until your next budgeting year to implement the program. So these are just some things to think about when planning for a quality assurance program. And so budgeting resources. So one thing you want to consider are the employees for your program. You may want to have someone to oversee the program, like a quality assurance coordinator or a quality assurance manager. You also need quality assurance specialists, or better known as evaluators. And one of the main questions that we tend to get is how many evaluations are needed per agents. And so the ratio that we use at ATL 311 is 1 to 20. ICMI reports that industry standards are 1 to 15. So if your center is more than 20 or more than 15, then you may want to consider having more than one evaluator. Also, you may want to have a data analyst, or for us, a performance specialist, someone to tie all the information together for you, complete trending analysis for you. And depending on the scope of your program or how large it is, you may even need administrative staff. Another key thing to consider when looking at your budget is technology. And so ATL 311 currently uses the following technology. Of course, we use Calabrio Workforce Optimization, which is our quality assurance and workforce management tool. We use Cisco telephony. We also use Captivate and Camtasia for our computer-based training. Snagit and Microsoft Publisher are used for our training material, creating desk aids, and of course Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word are used. They have various uses. And lastly, you want to consider training. Not only do you want to have training for the software that you implement, but you also want to make sure that you're invested in continuous training for your QA program as well as your entire staff. So performance monitoring methodologies. So of course, monitors can be done through different channels, and according to ICMI, 89.30% of evaluations are completed through voice capture or recordings. I know ATL 311 has implemented all the options that you see. Recordings and screen capture is our most popular channel, but we also have capability of doing real-time remote listening, side-by-side, and we recently implemented Mystery Shopper as well as peer evaluations. So monitoring all channels, very important. Research shows that businesses following a multi-channel multi-channel customer care approach achieve more than twice greater year-over-year improvement in customer satisfaction. Therefore, performing multi-channel evaluations provides full service delivery data and holds all service channels in high regard for excellence. So some of the most common channels are inbound and outbound, fax, web and mobile application, and other self-service options. And also, if you have a channel for email, that would also, you should also monitor that channel as well. So designing the evaluation form, very important. There are a variety of ways to do this, but these are some of the things you want to consider. So the first thing is how many versions of the evaluation form will be needed. And so for ATL 311, we have an evaluation form for each contact point, and as well as we have an evaluation form for a focus area. So if we need to get data on how we're performing on a particular system, we have a form specific for that as well. So you can have as many evaluation forms as you would like, or as few. The next thing that you would want to consider is the question format. And again, this is another thing that has there's a variety of ways to do this, but the most common are the yes/no questions, questions that are 1 to 5, or either a mixture of the two. Currently, ATL 311 use the yes/no format, but we're looking to go to a mixed question format in the future. The next thing you want to consider is the length of your form. How many questions will you have? How many sections will you have? And also, it's not included on the slide, but you want to think about how would the form, the setup of the form, will it go as the call flow, or would you have questions, similar questions grouped together? So that is something to consider. And lastly, you want to consider scoring. Will you have weighted questions? What type of scale would you use? Some companies choose not to use a percentage, but merely just state whether or not the call was effective or it needs improvement. Some even use pictures like a smiley face or a sad face when the contact didn't meet the requirements. So that's definitely something to consider. Also, key performance indicators, very important. The Calabria workforce system allows us to identify key performance indicators on our evaluation form, and anytime an agent fails to meet the key performance indicator, that evaluation form is an auto fail. Okay, so of course, creating synergy. You want to create synergy by including all employee levels in the creation and management of the evaluation form. And you can do that by hosting focus groups, calibration sessions, or creating an avenue for suggestions such as an email box like we did, or even just having a suggestion box. Another key piece is having a dispute process. And so implementing a dispute process. So you want to create a dispute process not only gives the agents an opportunity to question their quality assurance evaluation, but it also increases the dialogue between the agents and the leadership team. The dispute process will also provide feedback about the evaluation form and allow the QA team to determine if changes are needed. And so if you have a question on an evaluation form that's constantly being disputed, so that's a trigger to let you know, hey, maybe we need to modify that question, or hey, maybe we need to modify that section. And that just lets your agents have a voice in the evaluation process. So we really like the dispute process here at ATL 311. And so our dispute process is that the agents have 7 days to dispute the evaluation from the time of completion. And so the reason why the window is so small is because our agents have the ability to see their evaluations real time. So as soon as they're completed, the agent can actually see what the score is, view the evaluation form, and actually listen to the call and view the screen recording. And so they can look to see if there's anything that they can resolve for themselves prior to disputing it. Once they submit the formal dispute, the Quality Assurance and Training team will acknowledge the dispute by sending an email to the supervisor, the agent, and the agent supervisor. And usually that supervisor will meet with that agent to resolve the dispute. And if necessary, the Quality Assurance and Training coordinator will also review and make a decision. And if a resolution if we haven't come to a resolution between the supervisor and the QA coordinator, then the call center manager will make the final decision. And so the incentive program, you definitely, when you are planning for a quality assurance program, you want to consider having an incentive program. It not only boosts morale, but it also expresses appreciation. It reinforces positive behaviors, and it acknowledges the accomplishments of your staff for achieving specific milestones, not only as an individual but as a group. And one thing to keep in mind about an incentive program, that it's not a one-size-fits-all. It should tailor your organization. And some of the common metrics used in an incentive program is for perfect attendance, quality assurance, and adherence. And so the ATL 311 Incentive Program, these are some of the awards that we offer through our incentive program. And as you can see, we tried to have some fun with it. We use City of Atlanta sites as the title of our awards. But you just want to just think outside of the box and just try to be creative when creating your incentive program. But some of the areas that we recognize is for quality, of course, attendance and punctuality, productivity, adherence, on-the-spot award. We have some team awards and awards for our supervisors. So lastly, some of the key lessons learned when implementing our quality assurance program is, number one, knowing all aspects of the quality assurance software is vital. So not only knowing how to operate the software, but also knowing the technical side of things, knowing when there's an issue and how to correct that issue without relying on your IT department. Also, utilizing the feedback from staff can only improve the program. Anytime, whether it's positive feedback, negative feedback, I encourage you to use it to improve in the areas that, just be open to the feedback and improve in the areas that you're receiving the feedback on. You definitely want to complete benchmarking during the design phase, as well as seek assistance from peers to gain ideas. You just want to reach out and see what other organizations are doing and just make sure that you're in line with industry standards. And like I stated before, you definitely want to have continued training. You don't want to just stop at the software, but you just want to continue to train your members of your QA program, but as well as your leadership and your staff, so that you can continue to improve your program. So thank you guys for your time. And again, my name is Sylvia Graham with ATL 311. Now I'll turn it over to you, Lisa.
Well, thank you, Salethea. Thank you for sharing that information. It was very valuable. Enjoyed listening to the ATL 311's program. So now we're going to turn to City of Austin. Austin 311 was the recipient of the 2015 CS Week 311 Synergy Award of Excellence and awarded first place for Austin's 311 PSA in the Promotional Video Campaign category of the Government Programming Awards for the National Association of Telecommunications Officers and Advisors. Thank you, Rob and Mark, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Lisa, and hello to everybody out there in webinar land. We're glad to be on the webinar today talking about Austin 311's quality program. We have had a quality program in place since inception, and we've made a couple of adjustments. We've been doing this for close to 10 years now, and we've had to make adjustments to keep up with technology and to keep up with what the citizens of Austin expect when it comes to quality and us improving. My name is Rob Duncan. I'm a customer service manager. I've been with Austin 311 for 7 years, and I'm joined today by Mark Daniel. He's a customer service supervisor, and I believe he's been with Austin 311 for close to 9 years. I'm going to start the presentation off and then hand over to Mark about halfway through. Okay, so today we're going to talk about our mission and our vision, some facts and figures about Austin 311, sort of that first generation of quality that we had in place, and then we'll talk about what our second generation is and what we've had as outcomes from that when we changed that. Second generation adjusted in the neighborhood of about 3 years ago, and we've been making some slight adjustments from that point to try and improve it on a regular basis. We'll talk about expanding the quality program and our continued improvement, and then using data to help us with that improvement. And then we'll take some questions with Atlanta at the end. Okay, so Austin 311, we've got a population nearing 1 million. We're actually, I believe, the 11th largest city in the United States at this point, which is shocking for those of us who have been in Austin for a while. We handle, on average, about 83,600 calls per month, and that varies. Sometimes it's a little bit less, and sometimes it's a lot more. Summertime is our busiest time of the year. We have an average of about 70 phone and email staff on the phones on a regular basis, on a monthly basis. The average service request created is about 20,000, so we're talking in the neighborhood of somewhere between 20 and 25% of our calls result in a service request. And our top 5 contributors by department are the police department, Austin Resource Recovery, which is refuse and garbage, our animal services, animal control office, and then we get a lot of calls just from neighboring cities and counties, that people that are on the boundaries of Austin but may or may not actually be within the city of Austin. And then our transportation department, we get a lot of those type of calls as well. Okay, our mission and vision at Austin 311 has remained the same since I've been here. And that vision really helps us make sure that we keep a quality mindset, okay? Because our vision is that our 311 representatives are actually ambassadors for the city of Austin. And we don't use that term ambassador loosely. An ambassador is supposed to be diplomatic, and they're supposed to represent their government. That term itself sort of implies a high level of professionalism, a high level of quality, and a high level of trust. And so that's how we set the tone with our staff as we hire them and put them through training, is that they are ambassadors, and we ensure that we keep that mindset throughout training and then when we hit the floor and for the life of them here at Austin 311. And our mission is to provide uncomplicated access to city services and information. So that's aligned with the City of Austin's goal to become the best managed city in the country. And when you have a bunch of ambassadors that take that to heart, we really can help provide a great quality experience to the citizens of Austin when they call us. Okay, in the first generation of our quality program, we did an evaluation about 3 years ago to take a look at what could we do better, how could we align better with what the citizens wanted from us. And we found that there were some issues that were standing in the way of us getting better. And so we looked at the program as a whole and decided to adjust our focus to try and do a better job of providing accountability within the program. In the previous version, there was little to no ambassador input or participation. Basically, they took the call, and we scored them on how we thought they did on the call. We didn't score very many calls. We did 2 every 2 weeks, so that was 4 per month per ambassador. So that's really not a good amount when you're talking about somebody that's taking in the neighborhood of 14, maybe 12 to 1,400 calls per month. There was a lack of consistency with supervisor scoring and with follow-up. We had calibrations, but sometimes they were haphazard, and we didn't do it on a regular sort of like monthly basis. Some of the areas were not clearly defined. There were a lot of questions about, you know, different questions that we looked at when we were looking at our quality. And we didn't provide a lot of examples to the ambassadors so that they could see, okay, I can relate that example to another situation that I might be in. The plan for addressing issues is not standardized, and you know, when you run a call center where you've got 7 to 9 supervisors, not all of them are on the same page when it comes to what quality is or what the expectations should be, and so we had to work to try and make an adjustment to that. When we delivered coaching to the ambassadors, everybody kind of had their own way of delivery and their own way of documentation, and so we had different coaching forms that might be used. Our program, what we found, seemed to focus on the wrong things. There was a checklist. There was a, you know, you've got to do all of these things, and the ambassadors would look at that and they would go off of the checklist to make sure that they covered everything. There was a gotcha mentality when it came to delivering the feedback to them or trying to find issues rather than sort of balancing that out with, you know, we know we're going to have issues, but we can balance it out with some of the positive things that they did as well. And that lack of positive reinforcement kind of, it made the ambassadors feel like that somebody's out to get me, and that's something that we really did not intend to do. So we had to make adjustments to the program to fix that. In the second generation, what we did is we actually re-engineered the entire program with input from everybody. Our director, all of the management team, and every single ambassador was consulted in some way when we were reviewing and updating the program. And obviously we did that at levels. The management team took the adjustments to the director. We reviewed everything that we were expecting to make sure that the director was on the same page as us, and then we brought the supervisors in. We explained the reasoning behind why the adjustments were being made to the supervisors, and then we brought in a select group of ambassadors for input before we rolled it out to the entire team. And one of the things we had to do was really adjust our scoring model to align with what our citizens expected. At the time, we had a lot of calls that were what an ambassador might say, I did a great job, it was perfect, I got 100 on my score, but there was no room for improvement. There was no room to excel or exceed the expectations of the customer. And so we had to make an adjustment to our scoring model, which really lowered our scores, which was fine. It was a difficult transition in the beginning, but it was something that needed to happen to ensure that we aligned with what our citizens expected from us. And we got that information from a citizen survey that we do every quarter, where we actually we have a third party that contacts folks that have called into 311, and we ask them a series of questions to sort of gauge how we took care of them here at 311 and how the department actually took care of them after we handed that call or service request, as it would be, to the department. We defined sort of what was a transactional piece of our quality and what was part of the citizen experience a little bit better, and we helped the ambassadors understand in that citizen experience section, that's the area where we can excel. That's the area where we can go above and beyond with them and make an attempt to make that citizen feel special and feel like they got really good quality service from here at Austin 311. We standardized the training on this new program and made sure that everybody understood the definitions document and what it meant and what we were looking for, what the intent was behind the definitions document. And we discussed sort of what the process was going to be as far as making sure that it wasn't an adversarial relationship between the person that took the call and the person that was grading the call. A little bit later, after we rolled things out, we increased the number of calls that we did per ambassador. So we now do 8 calls, 4 every 2 weeks for each ambassador. And we also standardize our coaching form so that everybody uses the same form. Every supervisor uses the same form that has the same information and helps the ambassadors all sort of feel like they're all on the same page. Nobody's getting treated any differently. They're all getting the same information so that they're able to make adjustments on their own to do a better job. And it also documents what our goals are for their next review period. Some of the things that we had to do is we implemented a 3-point quality scoring where the ambassador actually got to listen to their own call before they spoke with their supervisor about it. That helped them be more involved and aware, and it helped kind of reduce that anxiety of, I don't know what my call's going to be, I don't know how I did on it, and my supervisor might be mad at me, or I might get yelled at, which we don't do that around here, but still, that's what runs through people's heads when they think that they're going to get in trouble. And so we reviewed that quality scoring at each level, so the ambassador gets an opportunity to hear that call before they talk to their supervisor. Their supervisor listens to that call in advance and scores that call in advance so that when the ambassador comes in, they're prepared to discuss both the positive and the issues that might be improved upon in that quality session. And then we also have a quality specialist that is sort of a third party that we utilize to ensure that we have a level of calibration. We look at the ambassadors and how they score their calls. We look at the supervisors, and then we also look at that quality specialist. They also are sort of they run our calibration sessions, and they assist us with call scoring disputes. So if anybody wants to have their calls disputed, they would be the one to sort of guide that process. And it's good because they're a third party. They're not a supervisor. They're supposed to ensure that we look at the entire situation and ensure that we fairly and accurately assess that situation. And then we have what we call a living definitions document, and anybody who's worked in a 311 center understands that day-to-day things change, and day-to-day things are different. No one call is going to be the same. There's always going to be a little bit of a different twist on each of those calls, and sometimes those twists sort of throw a wrinkle in the quality program because it doesn't exactly define in the definitions document how each situation is supposed to be handled. And so what we do is we document, we call it a living document because we document on a regular basis through our regular quality and through our calibration sessions sort of suggestions or ideas or guidelines based off of the different situations that we've had over the course of the last year or so, and put those into that living definitions document so that we can ensure that if we have a similar situation, we can look at how we've handled that in the past, and we can all make sure that as a group, when it comes to scoring, that we remain consistent. Okay, and some of the outcomes that we've had is we've definitely noticed that our coaching sessions are less confrontational. Obviously, when you're prepared, you know what the call was about, you know maybe how you did that on the call, that you have a little less anxiety as an ambassador when it comes to that. Because of them listening to it, they really are able, usually what we find is they're a little bit harder on themselves than we would be sometimes. And so it really is good at helping them understand the level of quality that we need to see or that we're expecting or that our citizens are expecting. They have a better understanding of those coaching points, and the forms are used as sort of an improvement tool rather than something that's hitting them upside the head, which is very important. And we use those quality scores to compare and really decrease that calibration variance that we've had in the past, making sure that we that we take into account everybody's feedback, and sometimes they make good points when they discuss with us why they think they should have been scored a certain way. So it really helps us get on the same page as an organization. The ambassadors and supervisors get recognized based off of their performance in the quality program. And so definitely recognition or incentives is an important piece to really any call center that you run, and that really helps them understand that we do appreciate the work that they do by recognizing them. And then one of the things that I like is I get to attend various meetings throughout the city, and I have friends that live in the city that use the 311 service, and I can't tell you how many times when I go and I talk to people in other departments, oh, you work for 311, I've had to use them before, and man, the staff is so friendly, and they really seem like they care about my issue and want to get that resolved. And so we've really, in the community, really built ourselves as a place to go to get your problem solved, and that we provide great customer service. And so it really is rewarding to hear those sort of things when you get this information directly from the citizens or from directors of other departments. It's really a great feeling when you get there. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Mark Daniel, one of our supervisors here, and he's going to go through the rest of our slides.
Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here and experience a webinar. It's new for me. One of the things we're going to talk about today is how we're expanding our quality program all the time. We're always looking for areas to be able to improve our customer service for our customers and our clients. Any way we can improve our service is what we're constantly on the look for. And we start out by asking the 5 whys, looking for the root cause to the problem and what areas we can improve and move forward to see if this is a project that's going to be beneficial for our ambassadors and for our customers. We're always, like I said, looking for areas to improve and make fewer errors on our part for our customers and our clients, and overall improve our customer service. On this slide, we're talking about the quality approach that we took, and Austin 311 collects all sorts of data on the service requests that we get here in our department, and utilizing that feedback the most. We always look for the departments that are utilizing our services the most to see areas that we can improve for them. And this leads to an area what we call end-user feedbacks. And the end-user feedbacks come from the service requests that our ambassadors are entering for the customers and the clients. And they can give us feedback through our command center and let somebody know that they had done a really good job. They can call and make a complaint, as well as our clients can do the same thing. They could call and say, hey, I worked with this ambassador today, and he really helped me with an issue we're having. And or just the opposite of being, they did a terrible job, didn't help me, and they didn't care if I was calling or not. So we're always looking for those kind of areas. So we chose this end-user feedback to work every month. We get a report out of our system that shows all of our, by department, EUFs that come in, and we can take this information and sort it out by department, by ambassador, by dates, whatever we need to get from this report. We utilize it each month with our top 2 departments, with their top 2 issues. Then we take this information and we use it in our monthly team meetings with everybody in the department. We put it in our monthly newsletter that's called The Buzz. And then, of course, we coach, supervisors coach one-on-one in the coaching, so we have twice a month to share this information with our ambassadors. On the next slide, all right, we'll talk about this one. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. The trending that since we started this back in January, we started looking at this report. And you can see there's been quite a bit of improvement here in this area. And we feel that it comes from sharing this information and kind of doing more training with our people during our monthly team meetings and coachings, just to share areas that we can improve better. And it seems to be working, as you can tell by this trending slide. So we're really impressed with how this is working out for us so far. This is kind of like the little jewel in my crown here, looking at this experience and the results. And if you look at the satisfaction with call experience, it's really excelled in this last quarter, as you can tell from the previous quarter. And it seems to be making a really nice change for us, and pretty quickly. And that's it.
All right, that's all we have from Austin.
Well, very good. We've had quite a few questions come in. So just a reminder, please upload your questions to the Q&A panel to all panelists to make sure that we all see them. And so I'll go ahead and get started. We have a question in that's for Atlanta. It says, can you elaborate on the inbox and CRM knowledge-based articles?
Yes. So the CRM is our knowledge-based tool that we use for our agents. And so those of you that aren't familiar with our CRM, we currently use Siebel. And so we house, anytime a customer calls in with a question, the agent will access our CRM system to get the answer. And so the answers are inside of what's called KBAs, or knowledge-based articles. And so we're always modifying those or updating those as things change with the departments. And so we use our email box to streamline the request to make changes to those knowledge-based articles.
Okay, very good. So now I have a question for Austin. It asks, what is the purpose of the living definitions document? And it asks, does it get confusing always changing the definition?
Well, the purpose is to ensure that we sort of document some of the decisions that we make when we're reviewing calls, because as I said, every situation is a little bit different, and we try to provide guidelines in the definitions document, but it's really more of like, I guess, what you would call maybe an appendix or an addendum to the definitions document, where as a team of quality specialists, I guess, our supervisors are the ones that do the quality for their ambassadors, but as a team we all stay on the same page about some of those decisions that we make when it comes to the case-by-case basis with some of these calls. And so we're able to document these issues that we run across that might be a little odd, so that if we run across something similar in the future, we can use our previous decision making and not try to have to remember it just from memory, or hope that that person still works here so that they can tell us, you know, hey, what did you do in this situation? So we try to make an attempt to at least capture those things as we go through the decision-making process, so that we can, later on down the road, adjust the definitions document. We try to do a annual review of the definitions document and ensure that it's up to speed with, the current state, basically. And so we may incorporate some of that feedback that we've documented into the definitions document the next time we do that review.
Okay, very good. So our next question is addressed to both cities, and it asks, does your multi-channel support strategy include some combination of traditional phone, email, mobile apps, live chat support, etc.? So we'll go to Atlanta first.
Yes, so our mobile channel includes inbound and outbound phone calls. We have a web portal where we receive requests. We have a mobile application, and we also have fax. We do not currently have the chat feature at the moment.
Very good. Over to Austin.
All right, in Austin, yeah, we do have multiple channels where citizens can contact us. Obviously, traditional phone is the highest volume. We get emails. We also, through our mobile app, we get what we call an other SR. So we have a catch-all on the mobile app that allows a citizen, if they don't believe that there's a service request on there that will resolve their issue, they can submit a other SR, and our command center, where we have a group of senior ambassadors, they review all of those and determine if we have enough information to submit a regular service request to get the citizen's issue resolved. We do not have, at this time, live chat support, but that is something that we are investigating. If somebody submits something through the mobile app or through our web portal in a service request, typically that service request routes directly to the department. So the department it allows us to cut out the middleman in that instance and have the citizen input that service request to go directly to the department.
Okay, well, very good. We've had numerous questions come in, but as we are very close to the top of the hour, I want to be respectful of your time and conclude promptly. So I want to let our attendees know that if your question was not answered during this live session, Amber Weems with the CS Week office will forward the question to the presenters, and they will follow up post-webinar with you on your question. We want to make sure that you have that information provided back to you, that feedback. And so the webinar will be available on the CS Week website in the 311 Synergy webinar location section later this afternoon. You can scroll down on our home page and click on the webinar icon to access the 311 webinars page. The 311 Synergy Group is searching for webinar presenters from 311 centers across North America to take part in the 311 Building Block Series. Take this opportunity to showcase your center's best practices. We are looking for presenters on 311 dashboards and report cards, 311 training, and 311 quality of work, life, and coaching processes. If you are interested or know of a good candidate, please contact Amber Weems at the CS Week office at first initial A, last name Weems at csweek.org with your recommendation. Thank you to our presenters today, the City of Atlanta 311 and the City of Austin 311. This has been a really fantastic webinar session, and we so much appreciate your participation. And again, take a look at the 311 Synergy Group found on LinkedIn. Currently, there are approximately 265 members from all across North America. And thank you for joining us today and participating in the Building Block Series. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar on Thursday, December 10th, discussing 311 reporting and data collection, and at the 311 Synergy Group meeting in Phoenix. See you next time, and have a great day.